Welcome to Life Skills with Louie. Today we are talking about emotions. If you haven't watched the introduction to Getting to Great, please do so because it gives critical orientation to these skills and the process we're going to go through in this section. Also, if you haven't watched the introduction to the entire video series, please do that because it gives an orientation to all 5 sets of skills and when to use each of them. As I said, today we're talking about emotions, and there's a good bit to say about emotions, so we're going to spend a bit more time in this video. Emotions are actually an organization of biological processes that have evolved over time to get our body and our psyche to move in a certain direction. We are benefited by having emotions, and these emotions have some specificity. There's controversy around how to categorize our emotions. I'm going to use the categorization that's used in dialectical behavioral therapy, or DBT. It works well enough for me. If there's another way you want to categorize your emotions, that's great too. But having some way to have a language to talk about emotions is critical. The issue with emotions is that they have so much energy behind them. And so if it makes sense to go with that energy, then great. They can really bring an individual or groups of people to accomplish amazing things. On the other hand, if the emotion doesn't fit the situation well, it may not be effective. And we'll talk later on about how to decide what action to take when you have a certain emotion. However, the key thing about emotions is that they must be paid attention to and processed. And the better you are at doing that, the better your life will feel. What I'm going to talk about today is basic awareness of emotions. If you want to learn more about this, dialectical behavioral therapy, DBT, is a great place to do it. Finding a therapist that has training in that. There is a handout and worksheets workbook that has tons of information about these emotions. I'm going into the basics of it. You can also Google and explore online and buy books to learn more about the different emotions, to understand them. I have personally found in teaching that understanding the emotions and being able to speak to them more clearly is really helpful for confidence. So to talk about emotion, in dialectical behavioral therapy, there are 10 main emotions: anger, sadness, fear, love, joy, disgust, guilt, shame, envy, and jealousy. The first thing to think about with emotions is that some people, due to their past or their upbringing, come to the conclusion that some emotions are good and some are bad. Actually, every emotion has a function. Every emotion is useful sometimes. To explain in a little more detail, anger is about setting boundaries, about pushing back, about attacking something if there's a threat. Anger can be very useful for these purposes and has a lot of energy behind it. Sadness is about letting go. It's about mourning. It draws people to us. It's essential for grief, and it's essential for loving, that we are able to let go and have that experience of letting go in order to make room for new relationships. It's also helpful for stress relief to cry, and there are stress hormones in the tears as you cry. Fear is critical for keeping us safe and for survival. It has the instinct to either fight or flee, to pull away from danger, to figure out a way to survive and get out of a situation. There's tremendous energy in fear that can be very useful in the right moments. Love is critical for drawing us together as a species and keeping us connected and building our social abilities to handle these complex systems within which we live. Joy is so important for morale, for having a reason to live, for finding meaning in life, and for play, which is so important for learning and for connection and well-being. Disgust is critical for giving us the reflex to pull away from poison, literal poison, that we kind of taste something that's off or not safe or not healthy. And also it draws us to pull away from poisonous individuals or poisonous behaviors that are dangerous to our wellness or our connection in a group. Guilt is critical for growth in learning when we harm someone. Repair and having the impulse to repair, to feel guilty for having harmed someone is hugely important for us being social people. Shame has the impulse to hide. And sometimes it's very effective to hide if you're in a group of people who won't accept a certain part of you. And so you hide it from them. That can be functional. People can have much too much shame and hide critical things from people who could accept them and love them. But as a emotion, it gives us the impulse to hide, to keep private. And that can be a very functional thing to do. Envy is when we look at someone, we see something that they've done and we want to go towards that and we want to do that too. And it's what we sort of the way that people will look at their heroes, and it can drive people to do great things and to become bigger and stronger. And jealousy is about if someone has taken something from you and you want it back, or someone has something that you think is critical for your well-being and you feel the urge to have that as well, or to take it back. If there was issues of loyalty and with us as a species, fighting for what you want can be very functional. So this is a really basic outline. I encourage you to explore these more. I do think dialectical behavioral therapy has a very good system for talking about emotions and learning to identify them. But the key message here is that all emotions have a place and a use, and they have a lot of energy within them, and learning to be aware of what you're experiencing is key. There are many names within each of the 10 emotions that sort of also describe that emotion. Within dialectical behavioral therapy, you can learn more about that. You may, like I said, want to call an emotion a different name. That's okay too. But this is a good system for getting some clarity on the energy that's running through you emotionally and helping you to direct it.